and I'm going to hope to get down there for that game after the show ends today, as long as I can get some other stuff squared away before then. But I haven't had a chance to get down yet this week, so I'm hoping that I can do that today. But Bobby Dandridge, of course, played at Norfolk State, but that was back when Norfolk was in the CIAA years ago. So he's in town celebrating those festivities as we get ready for semifinal day today at CFG Bank Arena. And then later on in the program, our friend Joe Serpico, Pressbox NFL draft analyst, see what's jumped off the page at him so far from the Combine, if any of it actually matters, or it's just a bunch of nerds that are like, look at how high this guy can jump.
I think
and that's mostly what it is.
I think with Marvin Harrison Jr.'s behavior, I think he should drop all the way to 30.
All the way to the Ravens is what you're thinking. That's what you're thinking.
Kind of disgraceful.
I don't think he will. I don't think that'll be the case.
What's this one headline I read about Caleb Williams is not interested in doing medicals?
Yes, he's not doing. He's basically doing next to nothing at the Combine.
Right, and still will probably go number one.
And that's a lot of people have pointed out that this is going to be more common. These players are starting to recognize the power they have, and that they're kind of forced to go through this process to no benefit of their own. Like, they don't get paid for any of it. One of the stories that came out this week is, like, the NFL forces you to sit, like, in coach on these flights in. And so you've had – I thought it was a wild story earlier this week that a lot of, like, NFL reporters who were flying in from the same cities as some of these players were like, yeah, it was real weird when a 300-plus pound offensive lineman got on the plane last – and had to sit in a middle seat. The NFL forces you to wear their gear from a deal that they did with Tom Brady's. I didn't know that's who No Bull is the name of Tom Brady's apparel company.
You get to be in the NFL, though. So
what's that?
You get to be in the NFL.
I understand that.
Usually.
But more of the players are starting to recognize, like, no, you're going to draft me. Like,
right, I don't need to show up, or I don't need to really fully
do all the things that you want me to do. I'm gonna get drafted.
Couldn't Caleb Williams with his NIL money afford first class?
I presume
he's probably about to sign a humongous contract.
I don't think Caleb Williams was sitting in a middle seat and coach. I don't think that was the case.
Right.
And nor do I think it really is the end of the world that a sixth-round player has to sit and coach. I'm not trying to pretend that we should coddle all these guys.
Pull the violins out for them.
But specifically, maybe fly them on an airline where they don't. Maybe not on Southwest, right? Like, maybe you put them somewhere where they're not C40.
How about if they book through Goose flights?
I mean, I don't
know. They have a medical problem.
You see, the thing is, it's got to be a non-emergency medical.
Non-emergency medical. They're too big for a regular plane.
I don't know if they call that a medical problem, Stan. I don't know if that's the case. But I'm glad you reminded me about Goose Flights, because as we turn the page and we are into March, Goose Flights remains the go-to delicious lager. That's purposely why we did it as a lager. Like, it's a year-long beer. It is. There's no... like, hey, this tastes great in December, but like in the summer, it's too much. This is a beer that tastes as good in December as it does in June.
You mean you open up a can and you can have it for 6 months?
Yeah, just leave it sitting open out on the windowsill, and it'll be just fine. When you go back to it in 2 months. No doubt about that. Still available at all those many locations. So if you missed your chance to sign up for our contest, $1,000 Baltimore ticket credit, shame on you. But still available all over town, including cans available, specifically just cans available at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton, Alonzo's on Cold Spring Lane, and the Glory Days Grill locations in the state of Maryland. Cans and Sixers at the Costas Inn in Dundalk and at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. Sixers and cases at the Wine Source in Hamden. $1.98 from every can sold goes to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation, the legacy of Tony Saragusa and what his family's doing to provide non-emergency medical transport to those in need. You can find that entire list of locations at PressBoxOnline.com/gooseflights. All right, so
before we get in, could you send me the thing real quick?
What thing?
That thing.
Yeah, our breaks and our...
You didn't get that?
I did not get that.
Seems like something that we should talk about before the show.
It does seem like something that we should.
I'm glad we're doing that now. All right,
Stan. My fault for showing up at the last minute.
It's definitely your fault,
yeah.
Stan. All right, so a couple of things. Before the show, you and I were talking. The other day when the news came in about Julio Teheran and Colton Wong joining the Orioles in spring training, my reactions kind of went because we learned Tehran the night before we learned Colton Wong.
Colton Wong, yeah.
So the first reaction I had to Julio Tehran is, wow, that's kind of interesting, right? Like, who knows? Maybe there's something there.
He's a flyer.
Like, it's a lottery ticket, right? Yeah. After that being my initial thought and feeling that way, my secondary thought about Tehran specifically was, boy, that's probably their way of telling you they're not doing anything else pitching-wise.
Probably.
This is what they're doing, is they're taking a flyer in Julio Tehran, and it's going to be this group of guys. So if you were still holding out some pipe dream that it was going to be a 1 year, the market comes back, Blake Snell will sign somewhere for a year, they're probably telling you they're not doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing with Julio Tehran. And there's probably room somehow for I don't know what other teams told Julio Tehran, but I don't know that there's a major league job to be had for Julio Tehran at the end of spring training.
Yeah.
So my gut tells me
he's like an insurance hedge. In other words, we're counting on Wells and Irvin to be the 4 and 5s until Means is available, and we see definitely that Bradish is going to be out for the year. We don't know that yet, but but he's a hedge in case there's an injury and they don't have to pay $7 or $8 million for Michael Lorenzen or something.
And and I'm not trying to suggest that Michael Lorenzen was going to end up being the difference in this team winning a World Series, but I would have been okay with them saying, hey, we just need some more amount of more pitching, because this goes back to my concerns about the bullpen, right? Like, and I can't shake that. I'm concerned until we get into real games and they prove otherwise, and Dylan Tate looks like the Dylan Tate of a couple years ago.
Right.
And, until we get there, I'm going to be concerned about the bullpen. So I would have liked a strength in numbers. Hey, let's add something somewhere, and that addresses some sort of problem. Whether Julio Tehran ultimately can be helpful, and I think there'll be room for him to end up in Norfolk. I think there will be room, because I doubt that there will be somebody else that is banging down Julio Tehran's door at the end of this, and it feels like
he'll probably have an opt-out of May 15th or something. If he's not he's not up in the major leagues, there'll be some sort of thing where he can go out and sign with
if somebody else has an interest in doing that.
Yeah.
But I have no
Colorado Rockies.
I obviously have no issue with you taking a flyer on someone, because why? What issue would someone have with that? But do I have any expectations for it? Not whatsoever.
Right.
I have no idea why they bring Colton Wong into camp. I can't. You have a position player problem to begin with. You have too many guys, which, again, when we say it's a problem, it's not really a problem. It's a great problem. Like, please give me that problem every year for the rest of eternity that we spend, caring about the Baltimore Orioles. The scenario that was presented to me is it possible that they are planning something with a trade, and Colton Wong is here to be the backup plan after they use their position player depth in order to acquire someone else?
Well, that's an interesting supposition, because it sure seems like what we've heard is that Jackson Holliday, the club wants him to make the team.
Right.
And he's got to play up to that level. They're not just handing him the second base job.
Boy, and he really let everybody down against Paul Skeens yesterday. Probably, I would say it's over.
It's probably.
Let's just be honest about that.
Yeah, I mean, he may have to go back to AA.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the end.
But having said that, I looked at Wong and I'm going, in what world does what he did in 2023, mean anything? But if you go back to 2022, he hit 15 homers, knocked in 47 runs, had 24 doubles, hit 251, 339 on base, 430 slugging, so 783. That's a decent player. But last year in Seattle, he hit a $165 with a 241 on base and a 227 slug. Then with the Dodgers, he had 34 at-bats with the Dodgers, and he hit 300. And hit 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. He sort of, to me, is a newer version of kind of a cross between Rufnet Odor and Matt Carpenter, where maybe they're hitting people, maybe somebody knows somebody, and they know what he has to work on, and they're going to give him an opportunity to see what he's got left.
Well, it's also plausible that they don't have any actual thought about Colton Wong as much as Colton Wong has a connection with somebody here, said, hey, I'd like to be in a camp. Would you let me come in? And
I don't know that the Orioles are in that business. I think I want to give Mike Elias more credit than that, to think, again, it's almost like the in Ozzie we trust mantra that we used to say about him, that there's something to this. The guy that doesn't quite fit in my mind on this team is Urias, Ramon Urias.
Yeah.
He's a nice player, but if Holiday makes the team,
right,
I would think Westberg's going to play a lot of third base.
Yep.
I mean, he is versatile, but maybe they think that's the trade-off is Wong versus Urias at a certain point. Maybe they know they can get something for Urias.
That's possible. I mean, it's certainly I can't be dismissive of it because otherwise it's weird. And again, the answer could also still just be, hey, we think that ultimately we're going to be able to stash this guy in Norfolk, and he's our backup plan that we can give a few at-bats to if something goes wrong, so we at least have a major league caliber player that we can turn to in a bad scenario.
And he's supposed to be a very good defender, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's been,
very good.
I mean, I didn't go into the advanced stats, but he's
won a Gold Glove.
Yeah,
he has won a Gold Glove. 2
2
Gold Gloves, as a matter of fact.
None of it, I can't be bothered by, again, you can never be bothered by someone that's a lottery ticket.
Right.
There's a world in which, as long as your expectations are zero, my expectations for Julio Teheran and Colton Wong combined are 0. So I can't possibly be let down by them, right? Because I have 0 expectations that either of these guys can find, a form of years gone by and can be helpful for this team. So if they do anything, if Colton Wong delivers 1 hit for this team in one spot all season long, he will have surpassed my expectations for him. So I can't be hurt by this. It's just, short of some bizarro world scenario where we love Colton Wong and we force him to play every day, but there's no plausible scenario where that's the case.
He won back-to-back Gold Gloves. In 2019. Oh, okay. That was the pandemic season in 20. He won a Gold Glove in 53 games, but that was the pandemic season.
Because they only played 60 games that year, obviously.
But he won 19 and 20. He won back-to-back Gold Gloves.
Anything else that's jumped out at you before you get down there? Anything else that's jumped out at you as you've been monitoring that you have thought is particularly interesting so far?
I mean, I have to be honest. They loved building up to when he got to the major leagues, the club, they really did love Kyle Stowers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I buried him.
Did a home run
talking
yesterday.
to Eric Garfield, he's buried him, and he's got 2 home runs so far in about 3 games. Interesting to watch.
Yeah, somebody put it out too. I don't remember who it was on Twitter. Like, you look at his swing and you're like, wow, that is really pretty. Like, that is a really good looking swing. Now, again, I don't know that you can.
It's so hard, though. I mean, he swings harder than just. I mean, I guess when you make contact, we don't see the full swing, because it's the ball hits the bat. But with him, you go, wow, did he swing hard? Because he swings and misses so much.
I have no expectations for Kyle Stowers either, and like you and Eric, I've essentially written him off in part because of his failures when he got here.
Yeah.
But also in part just because of the sheer number of players that are ahead of him. It's almost impossible to picture a scenario where Kyle Stowers could even be helpful. Like, what?
To me, still the biggest help he provides you is reestablishing value in what he does, where scouts are saying, boy, this guy.
Yeah, and maybe somebody else would want to take a look at him.
Well,
and the flip side would be if you're trying to make a higher-end trade, if the Orioles reestablish confidence in Kyle Stowers and they say, because of that, we're more willing to consider trading away Kalzer or trading away – I don't think you would want it to be Kjerstad, but let's just throw it out there. We're more willing to consider doing that if it finds us a different piece because we think we still have something special in Kyle Stowers that can be an everyday major leaguer moving forward.
Yeah.
It becomes interesting to the point just continuing to monitor it. Yeah, like
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, look, Cal Stowers obviously has come to camp with the mindset is, man, I've blown my chance. I've got to do something to open their eyes again.
Right.
And I don't know, in 2 weeks we might close our eyes again on him. But clearly, Colton Cowser is the early story for me in what he's provided so far. It really looks like he knows this is his moment to push the envelope and push. He wants to not. He doesn't just want to keep the door ajar with his foot. He wants to cascade through the door.
The interesting part too is we've talked a lot about how many at bats there really are and how many of these guys they can really keep. Is what the time frame is for them to consider making bigger decisions, right? Like, and at what point, say particularly with an Anthony Santander, who's now coming up on free agency, do they feel the need to say, hey, we can't just sit on this. Even as we're trying to compete, it still doesn't make sense to just hold someone to simply let them walk. And do they accelerate their thought process with someone like an Anthony Santander if they look and say, well, we want Colton Cowser on the team and we want Heston Kjerstad on the team.
Right.
Do they find themselves saying, hey, we don't want to do this because Santander's a hell of a player, but if he doesn't have a long-term future here.
And another factor, frankly, is the financial wherewithal of new ownership.
Right.
Where they can sit down without predetermined, like I'm sure Mike Elias in planning long-term for the Orioles has kind of planned that, well, once Santander gets too expensive, we'll get rid of him. That's an entirely different situation now when David Rubenstein, worth $4.6 billion, and his group take charge of the team. There may be a more honest conversation about which guys do you really want to keep. That's something we have to be open to
question.
And not just dismissive of, oh, well, that's the way the Orioles do business. That's the way the Orioles did business the last 5 years.
I wholly agree with exactly what you're saying, Sam, but I guess I would follow up and say I still feel like you have a redundancy problem with
no
this,
question about it.
Where I love Anthony Santander. What's not to love about Anthony Santander, right? All he's done is far exceed whatever expectations you might have had for him when he came in as a Rule 5 pick. Hell of an arm, has been able to play two positions at a competent to beyond competent level. He is a true power bat in the middle of it. Like everything about Anthony Santander.
He's a switch hitter.
100%. Everything about him you like as a Major League Baseball player. But he's not ever going to be Jeff Bagwell, right? He's never going to be a transcendent power bat. He's a good power bat. And given everything else you have, is there even room to say, hey, let's commit to Anthony Santander? Or if you're doing that, are you just getting in the way of guys that you like, that you think their skill set is even greater?
I think if money is not as big an issue, that when you compare him versus Mullins and Hayes,
right?
I would probably want him on my team over those two guys.
I would have to see what Mullins looks like in a healthy full season this year, because he still presents a skill set that is
question about it.
The ground he can cover in the outfield, there are so few guys in all of baseball that are capable of covering that much ground.
Yeah.
So that skill set alone. Now I get it. He's also at an elevated age at this point, so you'd have to figure out how much longer you feel like he's going to be able to cover that much ground, because as a corner outfielder, no, you don't like him nearly at that level. But
if he plays 150 games this year, I want Cedric Mullins on my team. If he's like 105 games,
I get it,
and he's a year older next year, I got to think about that.
I
mean, I look at the big picture with Kobe Mayo, and I'm looking at how much talent there is around him, with the eventuality perhaps of Henderson moving to third, Holiday being your shortstop. Kobe Mayo to me looks like the guy to take Mountcastle's place. Right. That's how I see it.
But that's when I talk about, like, at some point, are they
the
saying
redundancy of
is Kjerstad's our right fielder, Mayo's our first baseman,
right.
So where is there room for us to extend and keep Santander around, even if we
designated hitter?
And how much of it is, they just because they invested much more in Cowser and Kjerstad as top draft picks, and Santander was it was a Rule 5 pick. Like
I still don't want them to get this is the tricky part.
Easier to move on.
I remember the final years of Manny Machado when we were all keeping just saying, like, what are you doing? What is going on here? And the argument that it seemed like was starting in the warehouse is, well, we don't want to trade somebody because it's no fun to do that. And I was like, but that's not a reason to make a move. Like, you don't do something because it's not fun. You know, it's not fun is holding on to an asset and having its value depreciate in the process because you're holding on for some hope that you're going to have a magical season despite the fact that you're not building the right way. And I'm not trying to compare Anthony Santander to Manny Machado. I want to make that abundantly clear.
But that's in the DNA of Peter Angelos, was always, if we have a chance, let's not give up a great player until we're pushed to do it.
You have to.
And they waited a year too long to trade Machado.
My thought process would be, it would be easier to say this year, hey, you really do have a chance, so you're definitely not going to trade Santander. You really have an opportunity to do something special this season.
Yep.
So why would you trade Santander? I still don't want to get in the habit of, well, let's just let guys ride out the free agency. If you believe in the other guys, if you think these other guys are ready, then what is Santander's value in a trade?
Yeah.
What could
it's just hard to say that Kjerstad and Kauser are ready on March the 1st.
I understand that feeling.
As opposed to we see Kauser really grab at playing time this year, or Kjerstad,
All right, so because later this hour, the exclusive Stan the Fan exclusively unveils his first baseball power rankings of the year. Exclusive right here on Glenn Clark Radio.
That's exciting.
We had to pull a lot of strings in order to make this happen. We had to do a lot of work. I'm still not. We might
Atmans came up with big dollars to sponsor.
Thank God. We might get in trouble with some other folks that thought they were going to be able to get this exclusive, but we've got it here on GCR. Before we do that, Stan, Philadelphia baseball fans and sports fans in general have a bit of a reputation of being, insane, right? But they've solved the problem.
What's that?
In Philadelphia, they're not going to have unruly fans anymore. They got to the bottom of it.
What was the cause of it?
What the issue was, it was those damn dollar hot dogs. That was the issue. So they're gone. There will never be a Philadelphia
banned
fan.
dollar hot
There's
dogs.
no dollar dog night anymore?
Another dollar dog night in
That's
Philadelphia Phillies history. It's gone.
And have they announced that not only are they doing that, but that the reason they're doing that is it's the root cause of
from the Associated Press. For more than a quarter century, Phillies fans considered dollar hot dog night among the best ballpark promotions. But the team has now decided it was the worst. Get it? Yeah. Very clever, AP Philadelphia writer. Those dog days of April when the Philly weather is cold and the wieners are my God, they went all in on this. Are going, gone. The Phillies officially ended the popular promotion Thursday and replaced dollar dogs on select dates with a 2-for-1 deal at 2 April games at Citizens Bank Park. A statement from the team said the change was made, quote, based on the organization's ongoing commitment to provide a positive experience for all fans in attendance.
And
unquote.
help people with obesity.
Well, that's exactly what you read that and you say to yourself, like,
2-for-1 deal.
I'd like to pay more for my hot dogs.
Right.
Thank you, Philadelphia. What you might not know is the next couple of paragraphs. What wasn't positive about dollar dog nights? Armed with projectile frankfurters, some unruly Phillies fans began chucking their favorite Hatfield meat during a game last season, and the dogs soared like cans of corn throughout the stands and onto the field. The demand for the discount dogs also led to clogged lanes on the concourse, leading to security and safety concerns. So that part of this, if I'm in Philadelphia, go F yourself. You can solve that as a team. Saying it's our... How dare we want the dollar hot dogs? We're creating lines. Make them available at more locations. Problem solved.
Right.
Move the lines a little bit quicker. Have more people working those nights. Something along those lines, you can solve it. But the other part of it, the part where apparently on April 11th last year, the game turned into a Philly food fight when fans tossed their ballpark franks in several sections, leading to multiple ejections. My guess is this probably isn't as big of a problem as the Philadelphia Phillies want you to believe that it is, and it's just less of a headache for them because the team's good. They're not all that worried about whether people are going to go to the games or not. So
maybe they should.
Oh, you
taking
think
away
there's going to be a
$1
revolt after the end of Dollar Dog Night?
So are they going to stop giving away free things like, mini bat day?
Because
or
they might throw those on the field
exactly.
too, right? Like,
I remember
bobbleheads
a famous incident at Memorial Stadium. It had to be, I know Dempsey was still on the team, so it was probably 86. I remember it was seat cushion night.
Okay.
And there was some kind of wildly terrible defensive play, and it ended up that there was a play at the plate, and there was a terrible throw to Dempsey. And, I mean, there must have been 200 seat cushions that came flying down from upstairs. Remember that very vividly.
I remember something similar at a Redskins game at RFK Stadium once upon a time, where it might have been something or foam fingers or something like that.
Right.
There was a questionable call in a game, and all of a sudden everybody threw their whatever they were down on the field. Obviously I have no concern because I wasn't going to go take advantage of the Phillies Dollar Dog Night. Although I have said many times that
I mean, if I ever had a night where I wasn't working or anything,
at a younger age, Dollar Dog Night to me was the best promotion in sports.
Oh yeah.
I remember a buddy of mine was the SID at Drexel University and kept asking me to come up for a basketball game. He's like,
the
dude,
Dragons.
Yes, the Dragons. He's like, come up for a basketball game. And I was like, I don't know, Sam. Like, I'll get there when I can. And one night he said, well, tonight's Dollar Dog Night. And I said, Sam,
I'm there.
I'll see you there.
Me and my brother did it.
And you led the first projectile group
I'm
of
the
fans.
reason. It's my fault that Philadelphia can't have Dollar Dog Nights anymore, because at the Daskalskis Events Center in Philadelphia, I said, this is terrible. And I threw my Dollar Dogs out of the... There's something great about going to your buddies and being like, tell you what, buds, next round's on me. And you go out, you come back, you feel like a king,
Got like 10 hot
carrying a
dogs.
bunch of hot dogs back for you and your. When I was a younger man and I was going out with the boys more frequently, there was something very. Our friend AJ, who's a professional wrestler, was in the NFL for a long time. One day, we were leaving an Orioles game, and there was a vendor outside the stadium selling dollar dogs, and he just plunked down a 20 and said, everybody here and the next group of people afterwards, hot dogs on me. And it felt really baller, right?
Yeah.
Like, when the truth was, it was $20. Like, it wasn't. It was basically what you would have paid for a hot dog inside the stadium. Yeah, more or less.
That's what the Orioles need to do. They need to step up and fill this Mid-Atlantic
void. They want to welcome Phillies fans down now.
Guess what we're
Sounds
doing?
like a good column for you, Glenn.
I thought this was hilarious. Like, I kept saying, well, this will definitely solve the problem of the unruly fan behavior in Philadelphia. No doubt. You just make them pay a little bit more for their hot dogs, and all of a sudden they'll be a different group of people.
Is there a Superbook prop on what the price will be? An over-under on what the hot dogs will cost?
Griffin,
are they going from $1 to $4.95?
I don't know.
Probably is it?
I mean, $5.69
now.
At least $4.95, right? Like at least that much. Obviously, it's of no influence on us. Although I would say mad is the wrong word, because it's like apparently 3 games that they did this at, so why would you really care? But I would be disappointed if I was in Philadelphia and I was doing radio there. I would say this is a mistake. This is wrong. And if you want to say, hey, well, it was wrong that folks were throwing things, like, yeah, that sucks. I mean, I don't know what you do with that. I don't know how you address that, but to make the promotion go away entirely versus, hey, if you throw something, you're going to be ejected from the game and banned.
You can ban,
right? Like that if we have cameras everywhere, we can see who it is that's doing these things, and we're going to ban you from baseball games moving forward. If we that, to me, would be the answer for how you deal with this.
Unless the deep state is behind it.
Oh, boy, I didn't think about that, Stan. Oh, no.
Suppose like the mayor's office of Philadelphia.
You think
they wanted Dollar Dog Night off.
You think QAnon might be involved? You think it's possible?
It's quite possible.
This is a Q situation.
Yeah.
I absolutely think it's possible.
There's a pizza
parlor. Pizzagate. Yeah, there's somebody ping pong, Comet Ping Pong. They're actually selling They've got an underground hot dog ring.
Yeah,
in their
involves
basement.
sex slaves.
Yeah.
Well,
can't joke about sex.
No, it's not good.
Superbook doesn't have a hot dog prop, unfortunately, but they do have the Phillies win-loss total at 89.5.
Well, now
so
that
if you're
banned,
it's bad juju going on right now.
Yeah, I don't know. This could end up having an impact on the field. I think
might lean the under. I don't know.
Are these numbers now out? The Pacoda
numbers have been out for a little while. Yeah.
Where do they have the Orioles at? Like 80, 89?
Right around that same number. Yeah. Hang on a second. Orioles win total. Hang on. The Orioles, according to Pacoda, are
compared to Superbook or
86.
Wow.
86 behind Toronto and Tampa Bay as well as New York.
Vegas is a little more bullish.
New York at 94. Toronto 88, Tampa 87, Orioles 86, according to Pacoda.
And those numbers always a little bit more. I don't know what's the word I'm looking like they try to undersell teams, I guess, a little bit more.
They don't. Pacoda is a mathematical. It's not.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking at the Pacoda standings as of 3/1/24. Mm-hmm. So they do what I do, except they are precise with the win-loss totals. They have the Orioles finishing fourth place at 86.3 wins. They have the Phillies finishing in second place at 84.4 wins. That's hard to imagine the Phillies would not have more than 84 wins.
Given everything they have.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have the Mets at 83
They're denying people hot dogs, so I wouldn't put...
Where are they getting the pitching from would be my question. How do they get
especially with Senga out.
Yeah. The Orioles, by the way, according to Superbook, the win total is 89.5. And today, the Orioles are plus 130 dogs against the Braves.
Ooh.
So you want some?
Is that today's game?
That's today's game. You can bet every spring training game at Superbook. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. When you do, use the code Glenn Clark 23 or Stan Charles 23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Today, Tyler Wells on the mound for the Orioles, and they are plus 130 dogs against the Braves. When we come back in, the big moment that you've been waiting for, Stan the Fan. We're not going to do all 30, but he'll unveil his top 10.
Top 10.
Top 10 in his, and these will be up Monday, the entire list.
Yep.
First MLB Power Rankings of 2024, and I'll tell him why he's wrong. We'll do that when we come back in. Stan's here. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino in Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
I'm glad you brought that up, Stan. Yes, so if you missed the story yesterday, Comcast and Masson have extended their deadline by a week. So if you were worried that you wouldn't be able to watch tomorrow's Orioles game, you will be able to. The deadline now goes to the 7th. Now, as I said before, typically these things tend to get worked out. There's not really an interruption, the pressure. You just need a deadline to create the time frame in order to make it work. I would be flummoxed if they don't get it figured out by opening day. But, we talked about this yesterday. And, by the way, in this print issue of Press Box that is available right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms and in the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, the promise of spring, a dive into the 2024 Orioles on the cover. One of the things that, nicely done, Griffin. You've got it, too. One of the things that we did in this print issue was a few of us, Stan, Jim Henneman, myself, and Buck Showalter, all offered some advice for incoming ownership. And we talked about this on the show this week, Stan. I gave away one of my pieces of advice is it's easy if the Nationals end up getting separated, their TV rights get separated from Masson.
I expect that to be part of in the next year,
If that's the case, it'll be easy for folks to say, well, Masson's just going to die, right? And it goes into what we all think is happening with regional sports networks in general and, frankly, cable television in general. As I've said, that in my lifetime, in the next, probably still, I think, in your lifetime, Stan, cable television will die. That there will not be cable television networks. Everything is going to go to streaming. And to me, that Masson doesn't need to die. Masson can be a real asset to the Baltimore community. Once the Nationals are no longer a part of it, David Rubenstein has the opportunity to do what no one has ever done, which is focus a video content provider on Baltimore specifically, not trying to force this two-market thing that no one has ever you can't. There's a handful of people that care in D.C. that care about both the Nationals and Orioles, a handful of them. But overwhelmingly, the overwhelming majority of your market is not interested in that and has never been interested in that. You have the opportunity to step in and say, we want to be a hub for Baltimore sports. I don't think Masson should die. I don't think it should go away. I think Masson should be strengthened and treated in a different way to be a Baltimore sports. Try to go into business with the Ravens again. Try to partner up with them. Try to put more local college basketball, college lacrosse on television specifically to become a Baltimore sports hub, whether it's a cable network or not. We just got to stop thinking about cable networks. It's just going to be an app. Like, that's what it'll be moving forward, and make the app better, obviously, because That's part of the problem that we've had. The app needs to be vastly improved and needs to work at all times. So that was one of the pieces of advice that I gave. In the meantime, you got to make sure the games are on TV. You have to do that until we get to that point, until everybody has cut the cord and gotten to that place. You got to make sure the games are on TV. But tomorrow's for sure will be.
It would really be hard to imagine with all the excitement attendant with the beginning of this season, the promise of spring, that they would somehow not have this worked out, by opening day.
No question about it. All right, Stan, we've reached this point. It's time to unveil Stan the Fan's first Major League Baseball power rankings. It's the moment we've all been waiting for.
So should I, with no drum roll, I start down from 10?
I would start from 10 and work. I guess, do me a favor. Who's maybe somebody outside the top 10 that people might be surprised by that you are not as bullish about as other people are?
I have at the beginning of the season, and again, this is subject to change by free agent acquisitions. I waited this long, by the way, because of
Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery.
Cody Bellinger was out there a week ago. I'd say the fact that I have Tampa and Toronto both outside the top 10.
Okay.
I have Tampa at 13 and Toronto at 14.
Interesting.
But I will tell you this: after 8 or 9, I think, and I complained a little bit about this last year, that after that, then from team 10 to 22, I see maybe 5 or 6 games difference in their records.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think there's an amazing amount of parity in that second tier of teams. So that to me, and I have the American League Central winning team being Minnesota, but out of the top 10. I have them at number 12.
Yeah, that doesn't stun me all that much.
But my top 10 team.
Right, number 10.
Thank you. The St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay.
Buoyed by Lance Lynn, Sonny Gray. By the way, did you notice Sonny Gray? I just found this out yesterday. Every pitch he throws, he does what a tennis player does. When they hit the ball, they make a noise.
No, I've never noticed that.
Yeah. A friend of mine was just saw him pitch the other day, and
remind me to pass on
it. It's grunts.
Yeah,
he
grunting,
grunts.
Yeah.
He says Sonny Gray grunts as he releases every pitch. Maybe he throws the hitter off when he throws that changeup.
In fairness, with as much high-end talent as the Cardinals have, it's more stunning that they were as bad as they were, right?
Yeah.
That you would just think that the high-end amount of their talent should have carried things over, but it just hasn't.
They could very easily be managed by Yadier Molina mid-season. So anyway, St. Louis to start the season top 10.
Number 9.
The world champion Texas Rangers at number 9.
It's remarkable. It's not just you. It's remarkable to me how little I don't, respect's the wrong word, right? But
I think if you look, the problem is they probably have the best offense in all of baseball, okay? The problem that we have is thinking how they're going to get by without DeGrom, without Scherzer. And by the way, DeGrom, they may have to be without the whole entire year, okay? Scherzer will be back, but will he be anywhere near? But they picked up a fairly significant free agent, Tyler Mahle. He's not due back till the All-Star game, okay? So will Eovaldi hold up? Gray, Heaney, Dane Dunning, and Cody Bradford? That's not the kind of top 5 I envision.
Looks like for
and their bullpen is not outstanding. They picked up Kirby Yates, I think, to help out there. They've got Jose Leclerc
David
and
Robertson.
And they picked up Robertson and Josh Spores, Brock Burke. So it's interesting. I have them at number 9.
All right, number 8.
Jerry DiPoto's revamped and renewed Seattle Mariners at number 8.
Loaded with pitching. Loaded with pitching.
Probably the best overall starting rotation in all of baseball from 1 to 5.
It's not the superstar names. It's not the guys that you. If you're just a casual baseball fan, these are not. This is not Randy Johnson, Felix Hernandez that we're talking about. But my God, do they have pitching?
Yeah, they really do. And they've got a nice bullpen as well. They added George Santos. They also
the congressman, of course.
Yeah,
George Santos.
He was a major league player. But they also have added Mitch Haniger, Luke Raley, and Mitch Garver to the offensive mix there. The key is, can they get 130 games out of Mitch Haniger? Because he was popular there, he produced there, but has had many, many problems. Sports hernia is a testicular problem he had at one time, and he went to San Francisco last year. I think he played in about 80 games. So Seattle.
But the 1-4, the Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, Bryce Miller it's just
it's tough to get through.
Right,
really
that is a hell of a 1-4. That was the dream that Orioles fans were having about what 1-4 could have looked like this season with Burns, Bradish, and Grayson and John Means.
Yeah,
that's an unbelievable 1-4.
Number 7. The former home of the $1 hot dog nights. The Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, but they might be cursed now,
have to drop
Stan.
them a little
they
lower.
might be cursed.
The curse of the $1 hot dog going away.
Right.
All right.
Your point, by the way, about the Phillies from a minute ago, I agree. I think that's a really low number, low projection from Picotta.
What do they have them at?
You said it was 89,
89,
right?
89.
The win total's 89.
Oh, the win
Yeah.
total's 89.
Yeah.
Not sorry.
Picotta was it 86 or you said?
Yeah, I would like to bet that. I would like to bet
over 89.5 or over 86.
I'd bet the over 89.5 on the Phillies. I like the Phillies.
It's not a dog thing. You were not. I don't think you're factoring in enough.
The one downside with the Phillies to me, and if I remember it correctly, I always thought that Dave Dombrowski in Detroit, he had Verlander at his prime, Scherzer.
Yeah.
They had another
Price,
really
right?
good. What's that?
Price.
They had at one time they had Price, but they had Anibal Sanchez.
Okay, for sure,
when he was really a good
the
pitcher.
Team that the Orioles
and
beat
they
in
had
2014.
They had a horrible bullpen in 2014.
The moment that in the Delman Young game, the moment who was the schlub was it Phil Hughes? Who was the guy they put in that?
Jabba Chamberlain, baby.
Jabba Chamberlain.
Oh yeah.
The moment he came into that game, I looked at my father and I were sitting in the upper deck. I looked at him. I said, "The Orioles are winning this game." Like. They're winning.
You said, boy, I wish it was $1 dog.
Yeah,
day.
we did. We actually, we've lamented that. It was the one thing that brought my father and I together. It's over now. We're going to have a terrible relationship.
But I thought Dave Dombrowski, and trust me, they've got the money in Philadelphia. I thought the Phillies were the perfect team for Josh Hader to go to.
Yeah.
They've got everybody's a good contributor, but I don't know that they've got the one arm that I want in there late in ball games. And I think it's a classic tell of Dave Dombrowski. He misses that opportunity to get a shutdown closer. So I've got them at 7. I've got the runner-up to the world champion Texas Rangers last year, the Arizona Diamondbacks, at 6.
I think you're actually a little bit more bullish than some people are about the Diamondbacks this year.
like the Diamondbacks.
I think a lot of people are expecting that to have been a fluke.
They call it lightning in a bottle there. And
no, look, they still have, Zach Gallen. They still have Merrill. Like, they still have pitch. It's not like they don't have talent, but it just seemed like they so outperformed the totality of that talent.
But you talk about a top 4 in a rotation of Merrill Kelly. Who did you just mention? Zach Gallen. And then they've got Brandon Pfaadt, and they picked up Eduardo Rodriguez, the way he looked last year. That's a hell of a foursome.
True.
And they've got some dynamic players on offense, led by Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. They just have a Gurriel, the left fielder.
Christian Walker obviously continues to
does a good job, and they just look, and they're the team that picked up Suarez from the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, Eugenio, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I've got them at 6. At number 5,
into the top 5.
Number 5, the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay,
all right.
This is ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah.
This is get out.
Well,
how dare you?
Well, 2 or 3 days ago, I had them at like 7 or 8. But
behind the Phillies, obviously, and then the Phillies had to drop.
Yeah,
I moved on. I heard about the $1 dog
You
thing.
said, get them out.
That they get them out. I've got them in the top 5. I don't know if they're capable of winning 101 games. I've got them second in the American League East. Interesting, Picotta has Toronto second with 88 wins, Tampa at 87, and the Orioles at 86. I don't think it's going to be quite that close. I think the Yankees win the division. I'll get around to them in a second. But I think the Yankees win the division. The Orioles finish fifth. That leads Houston at 6. At 4.
No, we didn't even do that. All right, yeah, number 4 is Houston. Just a real quick thought on because I understand what you're saying about the Orioles, and it's not just. There's multiple layers to why I think it will be difficult for them to match 101 wins from a year ago. One being that there was a fair amount of good fortune that was involved in what they did a year ago, and some of that fortune being some of the other top teams in the division simply not living it. The Yankees, I think, I agree with you, will be better than they were a year ago. I'm
banking on them being. Look, it's almost, and I tell you won't find somebody that doesn't go broke betting on the do theory.
Right.
But the Yankees, it seems like the last 4 or 5 years have just had an unusual amount of major injuries. And people forget how competitive they were last year until Aaron Judge stumbled when the door opened out there and hurt his toe.
Yep.
They fell apart after that. This year they've got Soto and Judge. I don't like the idea of Judge playing a lot of center field, but that's the way it's set up right now. I guess if Verdugo isn't producing offensively, they'll move Grisham in to play a lot of center field. That's a good backup, by the way, to have him in center field. I've got Houston at 4 because of the totality of what they have. They don't have the offense that the Texas Rangers have, but boy, my God, what a bullpen they have with Josh Hader, Ryan Presley, and this Abreu is awfully good too.
And let's not pretend like they don't have offense. Like they've
got real good.
Right.
Jordan Alvarez may be the best offensive player in the league, and they've got Bregman and Altuve and Abreu and Chas McCormick, Kyle Tucker. You know, they're an awfully formidable team. A lot will rest on Pena. A lot will rest on whether the starting pitching is up to snuff, and I just think somehow Verlander will end up having a really solid season.
It's weird how that works. Right?
Yeah. I've got them at 4. I've got the Yankees, and again, I'm banking on improved health, and Rodon being Rodon, and I still am not totally out on them picking up Blake Snell. Luke points out to me that the ramifications luxury tax wise are just astounding if they were to sign him. But maybe there's something creative they can do. I have them at 3. I've got the Dodgers at number 2.
Whoa!
Yeah, I've got the Dodgers at number 2. Easily by week 4, they could wrestle away number 1 from the.
I mean, they're so loaded.
They're loaded, except the pitching. You just wonder, is Tyler Glasnow going to stay healthy?
Right.
If Glasnow's healthy, they're going to have a real good year. Paxton pitched pretty well the other night. Jim Bowden, just driving in, I heard him. He did what I'm talking about, Means and Irvin with Baltimore, that they're looking at that as almost one entity that they hope to get 150 innings out of and 30 starts. I think they look at Kershaw and Paxton almost as one guy that they can get 170 innings out of.
And what exactly is Yamamoto like?
I mean, is Yamamoto – look, if he is great, not good, and Glasnow is healthy, they'll be right there with the Atlanta Braves, okay?
And that, of course, means Cincinnati is number 1, as everybody –
Well, they were remember midseason last year I picked the Reds to be in the World Series.
That's right.
Yeah, I was really right about that.
Do you still owe us a lunch or something from that? I don't know how that works.
No, that
you sure?
No.
I don't know.
No more lunches. No more.
Lunches.
I can't afford them. The Atlanta Braves are my number 1 team without the drum roll.
Yeah,
it's hard to bet against them.
No, I mean, come on. They're the organization that is built exactly the way that you want to build an organization. Let's see what Chris Sale,
He's key to that, and can Charlie Morton hold up one more year? I think Max Fried and Spencer Strider are going to be really, really good, obviously. Strider is pretty amazing.
So the power rankings will be up for the first time on Monday for Stan the Fan at PressBoxOnline.com, and I imagine he'll be talking about him with Luke and
Ross Grimsley.
Monday afternoon.
Posted yesterday the American League division by 1 through 5 in each division. I'll do the same on Monday for the National League, capped off by the full power rankings.
And maybe the Friday before the season, you and I can make our official picks. Make our official picks for this, and Griffin too, and then we won't bet a lunch on it because Stan says we can't do that anymore. We're no longer.
You and I could, I guess.
All right, you and I can bet a lunch.
Griffin had a little bit of bad luck today.
Oh,
Zach Goodman is going to end up being our auctioneer at our rotisserie.
Okay.
We paid him $125 last year for.
Think of worse ways to make $125.
Right. We upped it to $500 this
what
year.
What the hell?
And Griffin was the backup.
Oh,
he was the backup plan.
Real bummer for him that he didn't get that gig. Real bummer. All right, hour number 1 winding down here on GCR. I mentioned Stan will be getting together with Ross and Luke on Monday. If you missed it yesterday, Stan and Eric Garfield had a nice conversation. Find those shows, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. And they're brought to you by... Stan the Fan Live is brought to you by...
Costas Inn, A.J. Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning, and, of course, Superbook Sports, where they offer a $250 first bet match by using promo code GlennClark23 or StanCharles23.
Into hour number 2 of the program, the CIAA tournament back in Baltimore this year, and we've reached semifinal day today. Games getting underway at noon at CFG Bank Arena. Joining us now, what an honor it is. Someone who, of course, played in the CIAA years ago at Norfolk State.
One of my favorite all-time players.
Have you ever had a chance to chat with him?
No,
this is
never
cool.
Chatted
this is really neat. The Hall of Famer, the great Bobby Dandridge, is with us now here on GCR. Bobby, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. It's a thrill to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
It's my pleasure.
Bobby, being here in Baltimore and seeing how this city has committed to the CIAA tournament and wants to be the home of this event and has treated it like the major event that you know it should be, how impressed have you been by what Baltimore has done in rolling out the red carpet for the CIAA?
I was here last year and I saw all the preparations that had been made for the CIAA, and then to come back this year and see billboards and signage up on the side of the buildings, and just everything is running so smoothly. I think the CIAA has found a home right here in Baltimore.
We love the sounds of that. We love the sounds of it. We want to talk to you about your career in basketball, but the CIAA, I still feel like, Bobby, there are folks that don't understand how significant this event is for an entire culture. And, of course, your history at Norfolk and the time that you all were in the CIAA, how do you explain to someone who's still just a casual fan what the CIAA tournament means and why there are so many people that are so invested in what is a Division II basketball tournament?
Well, number one, it's the oldest, most accomplished, historically black or Division II basketball tournament in the country. It initially had 14 teams. It went down maybe to 9 or 10, but now it's building itself back up, and we expect within the next year for it to reach that 14th mark. And the big thing about it is that it allows African Americans to celebrate ourselves and not have to go off to a major tournament somewhere else for us to celebrate our culture and the way we socialize, and to be able to dwell on our history and reflect back so that the next generations of African Americans will feel comfortable and feel that there's a commitment to be at these CIAA schools. And I really don't need to say that at least a large part of number of the African-American athletes who are in the Naismith Hall of Fame have come out of the CIAA. And, I look at schools like Virginia Union, A&T, Norfolk State, Morgan with football teams have just left a legacy that's going to be tough to beat.
Bobby, I really meant what I said when Glenn was introducing you. You were one of my favorite players in the NBA, and the game of basketball has changed so much since you played. Do you think the game is better today with 3-point shooting, given a preference, an advantage by making a 3-point shot versus the way the game was played in the old days? To me, I'm asking your opinion, but to me, it's not the same game, and I enjoyed that game more than I do today's game.
Well, the game has surely changed, and I think the 3-point shot has added a air of excitement there that didn't exist 20 years ago. And I think the changes in the game is just more reflective of the society in which we live. And if we stay stuck on that physical game and the big man staying down low, then I think that we've let some time slip by. And I think in all areas of our lives there have been changes and improvements, I would think. If we look at the dollars that are involved in the game today and with the fast break and the dunking and the double crossover, I think this is representative of the population itself.
Bobby Dandridge, the Hall of Famer, is with us here on GCR. He's in town for the CIAA semifinals this afternoon and tonight at CFG Bank Arena. Bobby, I wondered, to sort of follow up on that, one of the things that I think bothers a lot of basketball fans is how many games players don't play anymore. That, load management, and we see that the NBA has attempted to, set a minimum number of games in order to try to get guys on the floor in order to win major awards. Does it bother you that so many players sit out, so many star players sit out so many games nowadays? Or in a way, do you think it's actually smart that teams do that to try to keep players fresh for the postseason?
Well, I think it takes away from the purity and the competitiveness of the game when guys take off games. But I think with the advent of or when analytics became so much a part of the game with ownership and how they were going to make profits, and I think it filtered on to the players. So everybody, be they players or management, are playing this analytics game, and I think it's created an unstoppable problem right now, because I know it seems like the league is trying to figure out how to get guys to play more games. I think the league was very disappointed in the 200 points that were scored in an all-star game. So I think sports itself has created somewhat of a monster where, as I said, players, they try not to give up any more than what management is giving up. So I think at some point, either management is going to have to step in and set some rules so the game gets back to the competitiveness I think that the true fans deserve.
Bobby, I'm looking at the roster on that 77-78 Washington Bullets team. What was it like playing with a front line that was Wes Unseld, yourself, and Elvin Hayes?
It was fun. It was actually fun knowing that each night you had the chance to win a game. And, when you're playing with teammates like that, you know that certain things were going to be accomplished. You know that, Wes had the rebounds. Elvin was going to want to play the whole 48 minutes, and that we were sort of an intimidating force that teams didn't want to play against us because of what we had. But then oftentimes it was the competitiveness that teams did want to play against us because we were a measuring stick for how good a team could be or how good you could be as a player to play against all-stars. And when you speak of Wes and Elvin, you're talking about two guys that are included in the top 75 guys who've ever played the game. And then I reflect back on playing in Milwaukee with Kareem and the Big O. So here are two more guys. So it's a total of four guys that I played with that are included in the top 75 guys that ever played the game. So I think it's just a tremendous privilege. It was a tremendous challenge for me to find my niche so that I wouldn't be that forgotten guy among all these all-stars. So for me, it was a challenge also, especially coming out of the CIAA, being a fourth-round draft choice and sort of not having the name recognition as some of the other players did. But the CIAA, prepared me for that because I played against some outstanding competition. And during that time, the CIAA had as good of players as any major Division I conference in the country, simply because at that time we couldn't go to the ACC or go to the Pac-10 or play in the Big Ten. So the top black players in the country, especially guys coming out of New York, Philly, Baltimore, their best options were to come to historically black schools. So we were getting the best of the best. And even if we look back at the Naismith Hall of Famers, I don't know if it's 10 or 12 guys out of historically black universities that came into the league back during the 60s and the 70s who competed, made all-star games, contributed to world championships. I think about Willis Reed,
Earl the Pearl,
Sam Jones. It's just the whole Zelmo, Beatty, and the guys that made up the ABA. So it was just a matter of timing for guys that played in the CIAA. But we felt, and we proved ourselves once we had to go to the next level and became accomplished players.
Bobby, I'm looking at this roster, and there's a player that I don't think Baltimore basketball fans remember that well as a player, but he was the analyst for Washington Bullets and Wizards games for close to 30 years, I guess. Phil Chenier, do you remember before the injuries how good a player Phil was?
Phil was a tremendous shooter. Probably one of the purest jump shooters in the league during that time. He was in the category with JoJo White. There was another guy, Phil Smith. They were about three of the four best scorers in the league, and Phil had good size at about 6'4", well-developed, just a pure shooter. So, until he got injured and started having back trouble, he made several all-star teams and stuff, and surely would have to go down as one of the top players ever, especially shooting guards in the history of the Bullets Wizards.
Bobby, I know we got to let you go here in a minute, but I don't want to breeze past. The name Wes Unseld is a hallowed name in our city, and what he did not only on the basketball floor, but his commitment to our city with the Unseld School and he and his family. Can you tell everybody, for folks that are younger that don't know Wes Unseld, the basketball player, but more importantly, Wes Unseld, the man, what would a young
Go ahead.
No, I was going to go. I just want to know what people should know about Wes Unseld that are too young.
I mean, I think that surely, we look at his basketball achievement, but I think when we talk about his school, I think with he and his wife, Connie, and his whole family, that will probably be the most unnoticed, but yet the best contribution that the Unselds, Wes, his wife, have made to the city of Baltimore, because it was in an area where where education was not highly thought of, but the Unsells came in and developed a couple of generations of African-American kids who were given the opportunity to go on and be accomplished citizens. So I think his basketball achievements were great, but I think the Unsells' greatest achievement as a family was to the school, or with the school that they had in Baltimore.
Bobby, real quick before we let you go, I've seen a lot of things. I was a ball boy for the Bullets in 1965, and I've seen a lot of amazing things on a basketball court. Watching Wes Unseld chest pass a pass all the way down the floor to Lockery or Earl was maybe one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, the accuracy he had on those chest passes.
Yes, I mean, he was able to throw a picture perfect outlet pass. I think surely he could throw that pass, but then you mentioned Earl Monroe, Kevin Lockery, Gus Johnson. You know, that was sort of like he had the accessories to be able to execute that outlet pass, because he could have been with another team and the pass would not have been
Good point.
executed as well. So I think to compliment Wes, but also his teammates, is right in line with what he does best.
Bobby Dandridge, we love what you had to say. We want Baltimore to be the kind of permanent home of the CIAA tournament, and what it does for our community is wonderful. And we are so glad that you get to come spend some time here today in our great city and checking out the event. I'm hoping to get down there for the second game today, so I'm going to try to say hello at some point. Truly appreciate you spending. What an honor and what a thrill it is for us to chat with you, Bobby. Thank you for doing this morning.
Okay, my pleasure, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Bobby.
Great Bobby Dandridge. How about that?
Loved him. Loved him.
Give me your top five. Your five favorite all time. Your five favorite basketball players that you ever watched.
Oh my God, that is so hard to do. My backcourt is probably West and Robertson.
Okay.
As much as Bobby was one of my favorites, but he wasn't, in my opinion. Probably Jabbar is my center.
Okay.
And my forwards, I'm a Rick Barry. From my earliest days, Rick Barry, loved Elgin Baylor, but of course Larry Bird's in that conversation. Elvin Hayes is in that conversation.
So this is when we present it with favorites instead of greatest, right?
Yeah.
It becomes so, and it's not surprising that ours would be more generational, right? Yeah. Like that. Shaq is my center because it was just everything about Shaq was so magnanimous. It was so easy to kind of fall in love with Shaq, this larger-than-life personality, who also was an unbelievably dominant big man at that time in his life. So he'd be mine. It's funny because, like, of the modern era, there's no one that's given me – I've said this a million times. I know how great LeBron James is, but he looks like a tight end. He's supposed to be this good. Steph Curry gives me more joy in just watching him play basketball.
Yeah.
There's nothing like this. It's insane. And so Steph Curry would be on my list because of that.
No question about it.
I was always a Charles guy. Like I was always in on Chuck, and it's easy for, people to forget that there was a time in his life where he was a scorer. Like when he was playing in Phoenix, he was not a one-trick pony. Yeah. He was really a scorer, so he'd be on there for me for sure.
The players I hated the most were the guys that were the best, like Bill Russell. I absolutely hated him. The way the officials, seemingly to me, gave him calls that should have been goaltending, block shots. But as time went on, I respected. He was maybe the greatest winning player of all time.
It's hard to deny that.
Bill Russell.
Hard to deny
incredible. But West and Robertson were just so fantastic. Earl then became like such a special player. Walt Frazier was a favorite, obviously. Elgin Baylor and Rick Barry. It's just, those were my days.
It's neat. We don't. I don't get this a lot from you, where like your reaction is so like you're so excited about a guest or something like that. Yeah. When Stan found out that we had Bobby Dandridge on today, he was genuinely
very excited.
like, wait, Bobby Dandridge, really? That was cool. Yeah. So That's a neat moment for us this
Yep.
morning. Continue along on a Friday edition of the program. We're going to talk some NFL draft here in a minute, see if there's anything that's happened out in Indianapolis that Joe Serpico thinks matters. I don't.
A lot of guys don't believe in science,
outer
apparently.
space.
Is this the same Serpico that they made the movie about?
Not the same, no.
No?
No, not different guy. Different guy. But
Who would play Joe Serpico in the movie?
Joe
if they
Serpico's
did a
handsome.
redo?
He's a handsome fella, by the way, Joe Serpico.
Is he?
He is a handsome fella. We did an event together down at the casino. He's a good-looking fella. He was a popular. Some of the females in the audience were coming over to try to get some more fantasy advice from him. And I couldn't help but notice, like, there was a chair set up on the other side of the table, but when the females were approaching, they were going around the table to sit next to Joe. I think they wanted to get a little bit closer to him on that particular evening.
John Bernthal, probably.
Oh, John Bernthal is your call to play Joe Serpico.
Yeah.
I would have to think about that for a minute. Today's show is brought to you by Toyota. The high school basketball playoffs continue in the state of Maryland. Also, the Baltimore Catholic League this weekend. I think Goucher tonight is where the Catholic League, what is this, the semifinals, the quarterfinal? I don't remember. You know where I'm going to find it out, though?
Playoffs.
I'm going to go to countysportszone.com, and I'm going to get all of my information for both the state playoffs and the Catholic League playoffs, which are all going on right now. countysportszone.com, proudly sponsored by Toyota. Stan the Fan is here. We'll talk some NFL draft with Joe Serpico. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on. Where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR, Stan the Fan Charles in the studio.
Who the hell was that just said that?
That was Drew Forrester.
He has no right to come in here.
Yeah, who does he think he is?
What does he think he's doing, a morning dish here at the expense of my friend Glenn Clark, 23?
Yeah, I still for whatever reason put up with Drew Forrester, so I guess I kind of deserve what I get. That's just the way that it goes.
He's a good dude.
Let's not go that far, but we deal with him. That's the way that it is. All right, Stan is here on a Friday edition of the program as we continue along. We kind of glossed over. There was a lot of excitement surrounding this Paul Skeens Jackson Holiday thing yesterday, and Paul Skeens ends up getting the better of Jackson Holiday, but
won it bad.
It's won it bad, and it's won it bad in a spring training game. And settle down, keep it in your pants. A lot of the furor was you basically had 24 hours to know that this was going to happen, and you did nothing to try to ensure that people could watch it in some way. And that part of it, we've been through this so many times over the years and talking about the Orioles and the way that they've treated spring training games. I've just gotten to a place where I'm stunned that Major League Baseball hasn't stepped in and said, guys, you got to provide some sort of broadcast for all of your spring training games, whatever it looks like, whether it's online, whether it's 2 cameras. If we can broadcast Division III lacrosse games, there's no reason why we can't provide some sort of broadcast for when there is a moment like this. Because, admittedly, as I've said before, overwhelmingly, I'm probably not going to be watching. It's not for me, necessarily, because I don't like exhibition sports. But yesterday, like a lot of us, I think I would have said, all right, I'm going to go out of my way to flip it on because I get it. The hype, it's cool. It's a cool little moment that you get in the spring training game where Paul Skeens is facing Jackson Holiday, and I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity by all the teams, that they don't do more with local. MLB Network does a terrific job at providing, a lot of spring training coverage in terms of team previews and things like that. They make up for that. But I would agree with you that the locals miss an opportunity. I think some of it, Glenn, probably is the size of what they think the audience would be on mostly day games.
We've talked about this. The Orioles, if you were able to pull them aside and say, why don't you do more? They'd say, because it's a money loser for us.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able – nobody is going to spend more to also advertise in the spring training games. We can't get more money. So any amount of money that we spend to broadcast is a loss for us. The argument that we would make back was, well, it's also a potential loss leader.
Yeah, it gets people interested in talking about your product.
Correct.
Yeah.
A month before the season begins and might drive that. And so, yes, it might be a money loser. You don't need to do the full-scale broadcast. No one thinks that every spring training game requires – the one that we watched on Saturday – where the camera was shaky the whole time, and the guys aren't even in Sarasota, and Jim Palmer's got to remind you that every 5 minutes. You're not for the 6 games you're broadcasting. You're not doing a full broadcast. Nobody is asking for Emmy award-winning stuff.
They could have some sandbags though.
I would suggest that maybe it's not like it's news that it's windy in Sarasota.
Maybe that's the job that Brett and Palmer have, and they weren't down there. Maybe
they normally the ones that have to hold the camera as they call.
No, the sandbags.
They hold the sandbags to keep the camera down.
Both of them. They have one end each, and they take out these 2 big, heavy sandbags. That was ridiculous. I mean, seriously. I was having what's it called when you
vertigo?
Vertigo.
Yeah,
I mean, I was really not good.
Look, it's bad, but I would still rather have the option of the watch than do the low end broadcast.
Yeah, I hear you.
Send the crew that we have working at Loyola to Sarasota to provide that, or get the whoever that is in Florida.
Have you talked about this thing going on March the 14th, the breakout games?
We haven't really. I just saw that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's a thrust from Major League Baseball.
And so the Orioles are going to face the Pirates.
Yeah, Skeens will play against Holiday.
Presumably
Presumably.
And somebody would say, well, how's that really different than most spring training games where the prospects are playing anyway?
Yeah,
right?
But this is all your best prospects are in the same lineup.
That's the concept. The concept of the spring breakout game is that it's a prospect versus prospect thing. I think it's different. I think it's unique. Again, I would say these things should be broadcast. Like, you've got to make that available for if you want it to work in the way that you imagine it working, in that it generates interest, and for teams that maybe in those cities you're not feeling good about your team going into the season. This is the 2021 Orioles, right? Like, how do we get more people in Baltimore to be interested in baseball at a time where we can't really sell the idea that we're going to be winning baseball games? This is a unique concept, and I'm all for it, but people have to be able to see it.
Yeah, that's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a noise if nobody's there?
That's exactly what you're dealing with when it comes to this. So I'm with you. I like the idea, and I think it's a good idea, and I think that it's interesting. Did you and I have a Rob Manfred conversation at all?
Don't remember.
I don't think we have. So I pose to the inclination for all fans is to dislike the commissioner of any sport they care about. It's just who we are as a people.
Most of the time.
We're inclined to boo the commissioner. We're inclined to think they're all terrible at what they do.
We feel the same way mostly about owners, too.
For the most part, other than when your team wins a when your team wins a championship, you've got the greatest owner in sports.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, that guy has no idea what. It's just who we are. We're inclined to dislike these people. The radio show I did on what was the President's Day was the most recent holiday that I was in. Adam, because Adam lives in Spain now, and he pops up. He's going to show up in Florida for a little while. He's just a world traveler. Mm-hmm. But Adam Jones wanted to call in that morning. And I brought up because it was a couple of days after we had learned that Rob Manfred wouldn't be seeking re-election, that he's going to let his term end in 2029. And I just brought it up. I said, look, players fight with fate, Major League Baseball. I don't know what what your thought process is on Rob Manfred. And he was effusive in his praise for Rob Manfred. Like, no, I think that he has and I said, I've talked to you about this. Everybody thinks Rob Manfred hates baseball. I think the things that Rob Manfred has done, we're going to look back and we're going to find to be consequential.
He's been a great commissioner. I think the most disgraceful thing he's done has been his handling of the Oakland situation.
Okay, I have no problem with that. Right.
I think he could have been much more hands-on at getting that stadium and pressing the local authorities there. And to let this guy do what he's done, this John Fisher, is just, I think it really sucks.
I won't disagree with you about Oakland specifically. Yeah. I think the stuff that people are bothered by is how, he's changed the game itself.
I think the changes he's made are way overdue. And the biggest change to me, I didn't realize how sanitized the game became with shifting. There's just not enough. There wasn't enough athleticism, and it destroyed certain hitters like a Chris Davis. I'll go to my grave thinking that the shift is what really killed him as a baseball player.
And I think when you and I talked about the shift, I said, it's in a way it bothers me that hitters never adjusted to it.
Yeah.
The thought process was you would talk to baseball people, and they'd say, this will come out in the wash one day because younger players will start learning how to hit against the shift. And when they do, they're going to grow up and they're going to become the guys that are in the big leagues. And it never happened. There was never an adjustment.
No.
And in a way, it bothers me because it feels artificial, but I get it. Like, the thing that should have happened where hitters should have adjusted to the shift and that should have solved this problem, it never did occur. And so, in a way, it almost felt like you did have to artificially change the game because hitters didn't adjust to it. But as we pointed out, I like the extra inning.
I ended up when I first heard that idea broached about 10 years ago, I was like, God, that's the dumbest thing. It really turns the extra innings into a much more exciting
the brand of baseball that you like.
Yeah.
Instead of spending 6 innings already going up there trying to hit a home run or strike out every time. It gives you real baseball.
And turning to your watch and going, God, it's 1:30. This is really cool. It's 1:30 and they're still playing.
Still up there striking out, and going through the motions. Just trying to speed the games up in general. It never felt weird to me. Like, the things that we were worried about, like there being a pitch clock violation in a big spot, it never felt like a hindrance to me last year, and absolutely felt like the games were happening. I think Rob Manfred will prove to be one of the most consequential in what he did globally for the game, for the totality of. I think that we will look back in 30 years and say he was a truly consequential commissioner of a sport. Not to say that he's gotten everything right, but I think that we will look back and say, boy, he really did a lot of things that were good in general for the sport of baseball.
Yeah, I would agree.
Let's switch gears. We're going to talk a little NFL draft. The Combine is going on out in Indianapolis. Of course, our next guest is an NFL draft analyst as well as our fantasy football analyst now here at PressBox. Get his thoughts early in this process about who the Ravens should be eyeing right now. He is Joe Serpico, and he's with us this morning on GCR. Joe, it's Glenn. Stan the Fan Charles is here in studio with me this morning. Good to talk to you, buddy. Thanks for taking the time.
Anytime, guys. Glad to be back on with you.
Joe, before we get into this week, just early going, have you, and there's so much that's going to change because free agency will end up, but have you zeroed in on like 2 to 3 guys that you have really, and maybe fallen in love with is the wrong word because unlike KZ, you're not really an obsessed Ravens fan. But like, have you really zeroed in on 2 or 3 guys that you say, these are the guys that make sense, pay attention more to these guys as this process goes on because they make the most sense to me for the Ravens at the 30th pick?
Yeah, I've kind of locked in on the Washington offensive lineman, Troy Fountain, now in the past couple of days. I like his versatility in the sense of he played tackle at Washington, but if the Ravens want, they can put him in at guard. And let's face it, I think going into this draft, offensive line is probably their biggest need, followed by cornerback and then edge. I mean, you're only guaranteed on the offensive line right now is Tyler Linderbaum. After that, everybody's kind of in limbo. So getting a guy like Fountain out that can play maybe both positions, you can put him at right tackle or even left tackle or maybe even one of the guard positions if you want. And then this is a very, very deep class for offensive linemen at the top of the board. So I feel that, you get your anchor, whether it be the left side or the right side, and then you kind of build off from there. But if they don't go that route, then, I got a couple cornerbacks that are nice. But there's a lot of good cornerbacks. It's those 2 positions that are uber deep this year.
So give me then, just at 30, give me one cornerback and one. Is there an edge that you would throw into that group that you say, I'm paying this much attention to these players?
I like Ennis Rakestraw, the cornerback out of Missouri. That's somebody to keep an eye on. And then there's 2 Robinsons at edge that I kind of like. One being Chop Robinson. Yeah. Yep. Both of them. Chop yesterday had a really nice showing at the Combine. I think that's going to help his draft status. He was like borderline first, second round pick. I think now he kind of solidified himself as a top pick. So he's definitely an option there. But yeah, it would be between Rakestraw at cornerback, and then the 2 Robinsons at edge.
I'm looking at Joe. Nice to meet you. I'm looking at the Ravens pick by Mel Kiper on his most recent mock. He's got cornerback Kamari Lassiter. What do you think of him out of Georgia?
I'm a big fan of Lassiter. I just think that he's not going to be available when the Ravens get there. I think he's going to go around, let's say, 20, 25 in that range there. But I'm definitely a big fan of him. Actually, there's a lot of cornerbacks in this draft that I really like. Both Alabama cornerbacks, are going to be drafted probably in the first round. I'm big fans of those guys. My favorite cornerback in the whole draft is actually Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. He kind of reminds me of Kyle Hamilton. He'll be able to play the slot. He can play a little bit of safety. Will be good on the outside as well. He's one of my favorites. And then there's also Nate Wiggins, who many are saying could be the top cornerback in this draft. It'll be fun to see, with the Combine upcoming, these guys running fast will change a lot of people's boards in the next couple of days.
Joe, you mentioned that the depth seems to be at offensive line and at cornerback. When we say that, because the offensive line question is fascinating. Like one of the things I would put myself in the camp of I'm actually opposed to the Ravens cutting Ronnie Stanley. I think that's too much of a hole to create. And while money's nice, that's a hell of a place to have concerns going into a season in which you otherwise are trying to win a Super Bowl. I would at least hold on for one more year. And your point about Fontenot is really interesting. Like, could he play guard this year and then maybe be your future left tackle if you do move on from Ronnie Stanley after that? But I bring it up to say, are there more starters to be? Is this such a deep offensive line group that you could find a starting left guard, for example, in the second or in the third round of this draft?
Yeah, there's a guard out of UConn that I'm really a big fan of, Christian Haynes. I might find him in the second or third round. I think he would be an ideal fit. If they decide to go truly interior lineman, let's say in that first round, another guy's I got my eye on is Graham Burton out of Duke. I would love if they could somehow find a way to get Jackson Powers Johnson on the team, but he's more of a true center with Linderbaum already in the fold. It's hard to imagine him being in the mix. But another one that I got is Zach Zinter out of Michigan. There's going to be a lot of Michigan guys in this draft. Actually, it was like a draft record, 18 guys. And it's hard to imagine, John not walking away with at least one guy from Michigan. And I think Zinter is a guy you can keep an eye on there.
Pressbox NFL draft analyst Joe Serpico is with us here on GCR. Joe, the biggest storylines, you mentioned that the workouts got underway, and we've been, everybody's been raving about measurements and broad jumps and things like that. What are the biggest storylines to you that will still come out? Like the folks that have question marks related to the next couple of days, if people are really sitting around and just watching guys work out, that's how they're choosing to spend their weekend.
I think the biggest one, and it seems to be a conversation we have every year in Baltimore, but how are the wide receivers going to shape out? There's no chance the Ravens getting your Marvin Harrison, your Neighbors, Rome, but there's a couple guys that maybe, if they want to go wide receiver in the first round, there's a couple options there, but there's also some guys in, let's say, rounds 2 and 3 that I've kind of got my eye on, like Troy Franklin out of Oregon. I think somebody would be a nice fit. Xavier Leggett from South Carolina is somebody I'm really going to be keeping an eye on. If he runs well this weekend, I think he's going to skyrocket. He's right now, let's say, borderline second, third round pick, but if he runs well with his size, and then if he showcases that speed, I think he's going to shoot up draft board. So those are a couple guys I'm looking at receiver. As far as, the Ravens, let's say Matabika is most likely going to get locked up, but there was a couple of defensive linemen yesterday that really, really impressed me. And then the main thing is just these cornerbacks. They're so deep. There's 3 rounds worth of cornerbacks that could be, potential starters. That's why, even though it's a deep class of cornerbacks, I would say that, you get your offensive linemen out of the way first, and then try to find one of those guys in, let's say, round 2 or 3.
Joe, I'm going to ask you a question about the number 1 pick. It seems everybody's almost unanimous that Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 pick. How's that going to play out with the Bears? Are they going to make a trade before the draft to trade Fields? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, all indications that that's going to be done relatively soon. They want to they kind of want to do Justin Fields right, let him get acclimated to his circumstance before the draft. The 2 teams you commonly hear him linked to are the Falcons, and then here in Baltimore we're hoping not the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that would actually be a really good fit for him. But yeah, all indications are that he's most likely on the go, and it kind of makes sense. You have this generational quarterback. We've been talking about Caleb Williams now for 2 years. Kind of reminds me of Trevor Lawrence a couple of years ago, Andrew Luck before that. When we're talking about a guy for over a year being the number 1 pick, and then when we get to that stage, it's just a no-brainer if you're the Bears. And then, there's the financial implications as well. It's a cheaper contract with Caleb Williams as opposed to paying Justin Fields, maybe not Lamar Jackson money, but you're going to have to pay him a good chunk of change if you want to keep him around. So I think it's just one of those circumstances where, it's cheaper. You may have a better quarterback. It's just one of those situations you just got to do it.
All right, so the other position that's getting all the attention here in Baltimore, Joe, is running back, and there's a lot of smoke about the idea that the Ravens could be in on the higher end of the running back market, which seems crazy to me personally, but we know they're going to do something, and whether that something ends up being bringing back their own, or I feel like that most people say, well, why wouldn't you just keep drafting running backs? Like, why spend money? Just keep drafting these guys. Who of this group stands out the most to you, and where is the right place if the Ravens end up looking to the draft to add to their group of running backs?
Again, the Michigan tie. Blake Corum is one of those guys that could be an obvious link with each other. Another one being Dylan Johnson, the running back out of Washington. But I don't think this is actually a very deep running back class, to be brutally honest with you, compared to years past. I am under the impression that they will get some, because there's just so many of them available in free agency that they are going to add one in free agency. But I still wouldn't be surprised if, they do get somebody in, let's say the later rounds, your 5th and 6th round, somebody like a, Ray Davis out of Kentucky, or Isaiah Davis out of South Dakota State, Jalen Wright. He would be a nice player, but he reminds me too much of Keith Mitchell. They need somebody that can kind of pound the ball a little bit. It doesn't necessarily have to be Gus Edwards type, but somebody that can get you those, those tough yards on a 1 yard to go situation. So there's some guys are going to add. If I had to guess, they'll get somebody in free agency. They'll add somebody in the draft as well. Just because we saw last year, running backs are a dime a dozen. Once you go down, you want to have as many as you can on your roster.
No, I'm all for having like 4 running backs that you like on your roster in some capacity. I just don't think it makes sense to have one of them cost you $10 million a year when you're paying your quarterback. That just I don't think you can do that any longer. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. All right, Joe Serpico, what kind of content are you going to be doing at PressBoxOnline.com?
More draft coverage coming next week. I put out my top 10 in each position this past week, and then as follows Ravens mock draft. Next week, after the combine is done, there'll be my top 100 boards. Kind of just waiting to see how these guys go. There's definitely some guys shooting up the boards. And then it'll be mock drafts and player profiles and more mock drafts and more mock drafts. That's that time of the year.
At Joe Serp as well on Twitter is how you follow him. Joe Serpico, appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you again as we get a little bit closer, all right?
Absolutely, guys. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe Serpico with us here on GCR as we are in the throes of NFL draft season. Today's show is also brought to you by Ruth Chris. We are so excited to have Ruth Chris on board with us. I mean,
that's a place that serves those pretty good steaks.
Pretty high end. Jeez, we just Mrs. Clark and I just went to Ruth Chris for Valentine's Day a couple weeks ago. Had ourselves a lovely evening. Recommend the zucchini fries when you're at Ruth's Chris. Absolutely delicious. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steak since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Which location did you and Mrs. Clark?
We went to the one out by you. We went to the Pikesville location and had a tremendous Valentine. We went the Saturday before Valentine's Day for our Valentine's Day dinner, and the service was top-notch, and we had delicious steaks. What do we have? We did oh, God, now I can't remember. I remember we did the zucchini fries. Wonderful. Like, that was the one. We got another. I think we just got asparagus was the other. I think we did asparagus and zucchini fries were our 2 sides, and we did an appetizer, and I want to say it was the tuna that we did as our appetizer, and it was off the chart as well. It was just a top-notch. She got a dessert. I'm not a dessert person. She got the chocolate. I think it was a chocolate lava cake of some sort, and it was wonderful. We had a wonderful, wonderful evening at Ruth's Chris. And when have you not had a wonder? If you go to Ruth's Chris, it's because you're getting a hell of a meal. That's the way that it's always been, and we are really excited about having Ruth's Chris on board with us. When we come back in, we're going to get a tidbit. We're going to get tubular. We're going to try to wind things down a little on time so I might be able to get to the basketball game today. That's the plan. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
If you missed it yesterday, Maryland basketball lost an assistant coach. Mike Jones is going to be the new head coach at Old Dominion, so there will be a job to be filled on Kevin Willard's staff.
You think I should apply for that
I think it might
job?
be the time. I think it might be the moment. You've been building to this for years. And I think that, remember, the fact that you were a ball boy for the Bullets really, I think
I hadn't thought about that. Put it on my resume.
How many other candidates for the vacancy on Kevin Willard's staff will have that on their resume, Stan? I feel like that will have you stand out.
How about the interview that I did with Lefty when he was eating his dinner and didn't stop eating?
That's a great point.
I mean, I interviewed Lefty Driesell while he was
during
eating.
Dinner, 100%. So I think there's a few things. By the way, someone you know told me, do you have a William the Refrigerator Perry story?
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard your William the Refrigerator Perry story, and someone suggested that I ask you about it.
You'd like to hear it now?
Well, if you want to, or we can wait till after the show if you don't.
When we put out the Mets commemorative magazine, the Shea Stadium commemorative magazine, and the Yankee the same year, we did two separate magazines on the history of the two New York stadiums. We were very involved with a woman named Molly Ann Brasigliano, who is the autograph signing guru or queen of the New York area.
Okay.
And she would have these huge, where was WOR? What city is it? Secaucus.
Oh,
in Secaucus, New Jersey. She had a hotel there that housed these events. And hundreds and hundreds of people would come. And we were selling these magazines. And she also invited a few oddballs, so at this baseball signing, essentially, William Refrigerator Perry was there. She also had like a hockey player, that had played for the Rangers.
Okay.
There were a couple of stars. So anyway, and Refrigerator Perry's a pretty big guy.
Yes.
He's pretty intimidating.
It's the reason why he was called.
Is that why they called him?
Yes,
Refrigerator?
the fridge. Yes.
Okay. And I meet him at a bar people are around
the hotel bar.
The hotel bar, and people are around all the people that work at the thing and other celebrities. And I'm talking to him, and I look at how massive he is, okay? And this has got to be like around 2010, 11. What year was the last year Shea in Yankee Stadium?
I thought it was more like 09.
Okay, it could have been 09.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's beyond his playing days. It wasn't like he was in playing shape. And I started looking at how big he was. And my wife used to work for the Rice Diet program, which was world-renowned as a weight loss clinic in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I would always mention it to certain celebrities that I knew were dealing with weight issues that I could get you in, like almost like a freebie. So I timidly, and he's telling me a little bit about some of the aches and pains he goes through, and I'm telling him about this program. And I said, if you'd like me to, work something, I'm sure Dr. Rosati,
that'd be a big deal to have.
Would be,
right.
Yeah. And by the way, they had people like, I'm not sharing this out. Ed Mulatalo went there.
Really?
Yeah. And Brian Dennehy went there.
Okay.
Years ago, Elvis.
Legendary actor.
Years ago, Elvis went there briefly. I had my one date with Tuesday Weld, who went there.
Oh,
okay.
How about that?
Don't tell Jane that.
Yeah, look at you.
I had a date.
Look at you.
Took her to the movies.
Wow.
Jane was back in Baltimore, and I was down there. That was big.
I don't blame
Anyway, she still looked good for 60.
How about that?
When I had my date with her. Anyway, I'm telling Refrigerator Perry about this, and all of a sudden, it's like a screw went loose. He goes, "Who the F do you think you are?" I mean, he's really intimidated when he gets pissed. He goes, "Who the hell do you think you are telling me I need to lose weight?" And, like, really? It's
right, man.
And he really would not. He goes, "Look at this guy here." Now he's telling everybody. He's telling me I'm fat, or something. Who the hell? And I'm using the word hell.
Yeah, but it was really the F word. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And
sure.
I'm telling you, he really was pissed.
Were you nervous? Were you?
I was slightly.
Wow.
I was slightly a little nervous.
Wow. Well, that's not a fun story.
I said,
I guess
Mr. Refrigerator.
Right. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. You're in great shape.
You scream like a woman.
I had never.
It was very intimidating.
I had never heard that story before. That is wild.
Yeah.
So he didn't join the clinic, is what you're saying?
No, he did not.
I was waiting for
He was not interested.
Like 2 hours later when nobody's
still alive?
He is. He's still with us.
He's
61 years old. William.
He was right, and I was wrong.
Yeah. He didn't need that.
He didn't need that. He's still alive.
How dare you?
I thought I was like sort of
you were gonna save his
offering
life.
something. What?
You were gonna save his life.
I was trying to save the guy's life. And the guy got, "Excuse me, Mr.
Who do you think
Refrigerator
you are?
Perry."
Who do you think you are? By the way, 2008 was the last season for Yankee Stadium.
That was it.
And
It was
Shea
that
Stadium,
season.
2008. Hey, we are really excited about the new Atman's Deli. Stan was telling you about it earlier in the show. If you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials.
And if you use the promo code StanCharles23 or GlennClark23, they'll give you wait a minute, that's a different.
Nothing at all. But you can.
Who the hell do you think you are?
That's what they'll say.
Right. You can use those, however, at Superbook, and Tidbit is brought to you today by Superbook. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. You can bet college baseball at Superbook. So like Maryland Bryant this weekend, you could go bet at Superbook.
Maryland's going to kill Bryant.
You would think. Although Maryland lost to somebody weird this week. I want to say like VCU.
Yeah, was it?
Like they ended up giving up 15
it was one of the Rams.
runs.
Was it
I think it
Rhode
was
Island?
VCU.
Okay, it was
I think it
VCU.
was VCU. You're like, what? What is that? Today you could bet Mount St. Mary's Hoops against Canisius. They are 2-point dogs on the road. Get in. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 or StanCharles23.
Is that where Ryan Odoms is in basketball?
Ryan Odom is at VCU. Yes, that's
VCU.
correct. Yep, he's at VCU.
Are they the Commodores?
No, the VCU is the Rams.
The Rams, okay.
The Vanderbilt's the Commodores.
Can we bet on NC State to beat Towson today?
Oh, in baseball? I don't. I haven't looked, but I'll look.
NC State's pretty good.
I just saw these. There's a couple of new boosts that the Superbook is offering. Will Maryland basketball win the Big Ten men's basketball tournament?
Lock it in. Put
It's
me down.
been boosted from plus 15,000 to plus 20,000.
Might as well put it at plus
for them.
a bazillion.
I don't disagree.
I have
with
a
that.
feeling. I just have a feeling
about them
not
they're
winning.
losing the first game in the Big Ten tournament.
No, not necessarily. Who will they play in the first game?
We don't know. They still have a couple games left in the regular
They're
season.
trying to get above that very
They
bottom
have to play
line.
on the first day.
That question I asked Dandridge about the 3-point shot, has it changed basketball? Seriously, I love Kevin Willard.
God.
But watching that game the other night when what were they? 2
for 22.
2 for 22. You mean to tell me he's not smart enough to, at a certain point, say, you know what, maybe let's take some shots closer to the basket.
I don't know that it's a smart. Like, this is the difficult part about basketball is that, like, defenses have to be honest. And the crazy part about what they were missing wide open threes.
It wasn't like they didn't get good
wide
looks.
open. And so everything about coaching says if you are that open, you have to take that shot. It's the way the basketball's supposed to be played.
Except that you've played, how many games have they
and
played?
you know
23 games.
They're
You're not good at that.
They're one of the 10 worst three-point shooting teams in the entire country.
And you play defense like a banshee. I mean, you're playing really good defense. Maybe if that was 2 for 12 and you got 3 or 4 other baskets in the game that were 2-pointers.
Look, there were a couple of shots that were like, "What are you doing?" But the wide open ones,
and every time Jordan Geronimo takes a shot outside 10 feet, it's just
Jordan Geronimo does most things.
He's had moments.
Also, they've boosted. Will the Orioles win the American League at Superbook?
Now we're talking.
It's a plus 550 in general, but they have boosted it for right now to plus 650 for the Orioles to win the AL and go to the World Series. So if you feel something about that, again, hop on Superbook.com, download the Superbook app.
So if you put $10 on that, it would pay $65.
Yes, correct. $65. So if that's speaking to you. Use the code GlennClark23 or StanCharles23 when you sign up at Superbook.
You know who Dylan Jones is?
Should I?
Weber State. Plays for Weber State. Had a great game last night.
You say so?
30 points.
He's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He's not Robbie Avila. Yeah. No, he's not.
Man, Dave Damashek was doing a whole bit with like the Sklar brothers about other nicknames.
The one I saw, Steph Blurry.
Steph Blurry was good. I said a stigma is him.
A stigma.
Nobody caught it.
Astigmatism.
Astigmatism. That he wears glasses. A stigma is him. We say that somebody is him.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Okay.
Now you're starting to figure it out and realize that it was good, and it was no sold by everybody. No sold in general. All right, enough out of you.
He joined
Earl, the Pearl Vision Center, was pretty good. I like that one. Larry Nerd was one that I saw floating around. That one was pretty good.
That's better because he's Indiana State, right? Yeah. So,
exactly. That's
the
best
one.
Yeah,
Speaking of Larry the Nerd, have you talked at all about Richard Lewis this week?
No, you know what? We haven't, Stan. Thank you.
Yeah.
God, that sucks. And look, Richard Lewis obviously has been in poor health, and I think anybody who's been watching Curb has
known that for years.
Yeah, it's impacted him this late point in his life. But my God, what a genius!
Interesting that. Now, I'm sure there were still some more cameos of him in this season of Curb. But the last show that he was alive for, he's talking to Larry about leaving him money, putting him in his will.
It was really Richard Lewis just he's brilliantly, painfully funny, and incredibly talented. And you know, it sucks. I thought that Larry David's statement afterwards was really
great.
Was really wonderful.
Great. Made me sob, the son of a bitch, or something like that.
You
know what's fascinating? The last couple of days, who's on the Morning Joe show? They used to be on all the time. Is it Mike Barnacle? No, Mike Barnacle.
Maybe
he's the Boston columnist.
Yeah.
he talked about him the other day, that he had a relationship with him that started with a phone call that Richard Lewis to talk, and they used to talk for hours on phone calls. And then the guy who's on MSNBC, he's on in the mornings at 10 o'clock, and he sits in for the news anchor. Who's the NBC news anchor? Is Holt.
Lester Holt.
Lester Holt. He sits in, is it Jose Maria Olazabal?
No, that's the golfer.
Do you know who I'm even talking
hang on
about?
A second.
All of a sudden, he's on his show yesterday talking about that Richard Lewis had called him and they had a relationship.
Really?
Talking about his social issues, and the thing he was remarked on was what a sweet
Jose
guy.
Diaz-Balart.
Balart, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're quicker at looking things up than me. But, I mean, that is really odd to hear these two political punsters or a newsman talk about the relationship they had with Richard Lewis. He's really pretty
he's a brilliantly smart man on top of being
No
very
question
funny.
about it.
So I don't know that I'm that surprised by it. The statement that Larry David, Richard and I were born 3 days apart in the same hospital, and for most of my life he's been like a brother to me. He had that rare combination of being the funniest person and also the sweetest. But today he made me sob, and for that I'll never forgive him.
Yeah,
perfect.
Great.
Just perfect. In his response. Safe home, Richard Lewis, and a life of brilliant. I mean, just one of the funniest people that there
A life
ever
well
was.
lived.
Incredibly well lived. So yeah, that. Thank you for reminding me. That was a huge bummer. Just a huge bummer. All right, sorry. You were talking about this guy from Weber State that nobody. It's
really
Weber,
matter.
by the way, not Weber. Weber State.
Are we sure?
Yes.
100%
Yep.
Weber?
Weber State. Yep.
I've always called
The
it
home of Harold the Show Arsenault once upon a time.
It's definitely Weber.
Weber State. Yep. Promise you that.
I can't call it Weber anymore.
I mean, if you'd like to. I don't know that anybody's going to come after you. Like
Weber State.
Weber State.
Do you
yes.
like to be
Why
wrong?
are you so
Do you
bothered
like
by
to
that?
be
I don't know. I mean, it's like the Berenstain
Weber-
Bears. It's like
I don't know what that is. I can't tell you.
The Berenstain Bears. Right?
If you say so, I don't know. I'm telling you.
You've never heard
I'm
of
not,
the Berenstain Bears thing?
I know who they are.
You know the Mandela effect?
Oh, where you're convinced that it's spelled
Yeah.
one way. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I just don't care.
Positive it was Weber.
I can speak to you definitively. It's Weber State.
You have to call somebody.
Call whoever you want to call. You're going to get
Dylan
the same
Jones
answer.
had 30, 20, and 8 assists last night. And over the last 5 seasons, he is the only college basketball player to do that, and only the 5th player in NBA or Division I basketball to have 30, 20, and 8 in a game.
Apparently, at some point, the provost at Weber State had to address Tim Cook because Tim Cook from Apple kept calling it Weber, and had to explain to him that it's Weber. It's Weber.
All right. Well, then you have to do the same with me, I guess.
I don't know why you care. Keep going.
Who are the 4 NBA players who have had 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 8 assists in the last 5 seasons?
In the last 5 seasons, 30 points, 20 rebounds. Luka.
Yes.
Jokic.
Yes.
In 5 seasons,
Mhm.
and there's 2 more.
There's 2 more. Pretty elite company for Dylan Jones.
20 rebounds.
Yeah, and 30 points.
Well, yeah, but like it's so you want it like the people that like when you think 30 points, you're like, oh, LeBron, but like 20 rebounds would be a staggering. Really? LeBron had a 20 rebounds?
Yeah, 30, 20, and 8, LeBron.
Jesus. That's stunning. Embiid.
No, not Embiid. Close. Yeah.
Close to Embiid because it's somebody else who plays in
International,
Philly?
like an international player.
That's what you came up with, close for
I mean,
Embiid?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's close.
Close. Another international player.
Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference. Oh, Giannis.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Giannis.
sorry.
Giannis, Luka, Jokic, and LeBron is who Dylan Jones joins over the last 5 seasons of basketball.
Right, but he doesn't really. Dylan Jones did it at Weber State. It's not quite
But it
the
hasn't
same.
been done by anyone else in
I
college
understand
basketball,
that.
like in the last
I
5
get
years.
it. All right, fine. Is that the...
I guess I could make that. LeBron also outscored with the Lakers, whoever they played 2 nights ago. He outscored the opposing team in the 4th quarter for
Did I see
the
there's some
18th.
controversy that maybe he had already passed 40,000 points and there was like an accounting error? That
Really?
like that somebody like a writer said, I went back
and looked at every point.
And I'm pretty sure he's already surpassed 40,000 points. Like Dave McMenamin maybe said something like that.
James breaks corner. How close? LeBron. I mean, everyone's acting like he has not hit it.
No,
yet,
I know.
Right?
That's the point. Officially, the records
points
say,
away.
but I'm telling you,
This is the Talia thing that we're.
It's sort of like that. And better not say that because they're gonna get mad at me.
Okay, sorry. No active NBA player has. So it was the 18th time LeBron outscored the opponent in the fourth quarter alone.
Yeah, all right, Dave McMenamin. New video joined Kevin Nagandi on SportsCenter where I explained that LeBron James is actually coming into the night with 40,024 career points already by my calculations.
So someone ignored like a 30-point game he had?
I don't know. I didn't watch the video. I don't know what he's trying to say.
18th time that he has outscored the opponent in the fourth quarter by himself. That is most among active players.
Oh, I mean, he was facing the Wizards, so like.
Well, yeah.
Oh, was this not the last
I think
night?
it was 2 nights ago.
Okay.
3 nights ago, whatever it was. Yeah.
It might have been a real
The
team.
second most by an active player is 3. There's like 6 guys that have done this 3 times.
I mean,
so LeBron 18. I mean, yeah. And I guess you guys aren't going to like it, but he is going to be on. He's going to be on my list when you said your favorite.
It's fine. It's your favorites.
5.
I don't care who's your favorite. I don't care that.
By
the way, I'm also not trying to deny. Like, I don't think LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, but I think he's in the conversation as the greatest basketball player of all time. Like, I don't think that's.
He should be good.
All right, for God's sake. Yeah, that's why I have not taken as much personal joy in watching LeBron James as I did in other guys. But I'm not trying to deny his great. It's not me like LeBron James sucks. Like, no, not at all. Go ahead.
DeMar DeRozan. This will be my final tidbit. DeMar DeRozan last night scored. He played the entire game, 48 minutes, had 0 turnovers, 35 points, and 10 rebounds. It is only the 7th time that this has been done in NBA history.
35 points, 10 rebounds,
with no turnovers. And
so
they played
specific.
the entire game, 48-plus minutes.
And that could be anybody. Like, there's no way.
The other 6 are all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're just trying to guess. Magic.
No. Yeah, I guess this one would be tough. But
just
you should get them.
Bird?
No, not Bird.
But we're just telling you, guess Hall of Famers. Oscar Robertson, Dominique Wilkins, Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, Kevin Garnett,
Bobby Dandridge.
No.
Wes Unseld.
Would be good, I guess. No.
This is stupid. Dirk Nowitzki. Hakeem.
Yes.
Hey!
Dirk.
George Gervin.
2002. No, not sure. Not
Hakeem Olajuwon. Jerry West. Elgin Baylor.
No, sorry. Different.
Got really excited.
Did I mention?
Got really
did
excited.
I mention a name?
A bullet. There is a bullet on here.
There's a bullet on.
Elvin Hayes.
Elvin Hayes.
Yeah.
That's why he said Elgin, and I was like, yeah. Oh, no.
Got it.
Elgin Baylor was one of them.
No, he wasn't. Surprisingly, because he's on every other list.
Kevin McHale.
No.
Larry Bird.
No.
Reggie Miller.
There is a Celtic.
There's a Celtic. Bill
Kevin
Russell.
Garnett.
No, not Kevin Garnett.
Bill Russell.
No, he played with Kevin Garnett. Played with
Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce. In 2005, did this.
Dwayne Wade.
No, not Dwayne Wade.
Oh, he's not in yet, is he?
No, I guess not. Yeah, Pierce would be the most
Dr.
recent.
J.
No, not Dr. No, not
Billy
Dr.
Cunningham.
Not
Alex.
Billy Cunningham.
Alex English.
Yes, Alex English.
Hey.
In 1983.
Great. It's only taken us 50 guesses.
Just guessing as many Hall of Famers as I can think of.
So
David Robinson.
2 more, not David Robinson.
Tom Heinsohn.
No.
Jerry West.
No.
Bob Pettit.
No.
Mitch Richmond.
No.
Rick Barry.
Okay, so one.
Chris Mullen.
No.
Chris Webber.
No.
Grant Hill. Tracy McGrady.
Yes, Tracy
Hey!
McGrady. Also in 2005. Did it a month before Paul Pierce did.
We still need one more.
We do still need one more.
Scottie Pippen.
No.
Michael Jordan.
This is the right era.
Right era. Isaiah Thomas.
No.
The right era.
Yes.
The right era. Era. Allen Iverson.
No, not AI. Getting a statue.
Is he?
Yeah.
Good for him. He won a lot of championships. Jason Kidd.
Practice.
Steve Nash.
No, you're going a little too
Hard for a point guard. To not
I
have
guess
any
Karl
Jason-
Malone.
a little before.
Little before.
I guess
What?
You were hot. You were warmer with Isaiah Thomas and Scotty and
Okay.
MJ.
Did I say Chris Mullen? Patrick
not
Ewing?
Chris Mullen. Yes, Patrick Ewing.
Hey!
There you go. Well done, DeMar DeRozan.
Just kept naming all the good players, and we eventually got there. How about
Alex
that?
English, Elvin Hayes, Patrick Ewing.
Remember when I was going to try to get out of here early to go to a basketball game, and then we spent 5 minutes
said
guessing
no,
basketball
not
players?
so fast, my friend.
Yeah, that's exactly. You very much Lee Corso'd me. Tubular is brought to you by Toyota. Again, play Pick'em during the basketball playoffs at the high school level by going to countysportszone.com. It's proudly brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Here's what's coming up this weekend. I can't do all of it. Today, CIAA tournament semifinals, women's underway. They go throughout the day on ESPN+. Then the championships tomorrow, the women's championship on ESPN Plus at 1, the men's championship on ESPNU at 4. Orioles Braves today. Tyler Wells, Bryce Elder. There's an audio broadcast if you're an MLB TV subscriber. And then, as we mentioned, tomorrow is on TV again on MASN for the Yankees and Orioles. Marcus Stroman, Cole Irvin. It's also on MLB Network if you're listening elsewhere. So you can check it out there. They'll be on the radio on Sunday for the Pirates game. I don't think we have pictures for that one just yet. Tomorrow, Towson Wilmington, 2 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Gotta have it.
This is the winner gets the double bye.
Lacrosse tomorrow, ESPN Plus, Loyola Colgate at noon, Navy BU at 1, Navy American Hoops tomorrow at 2 on ESPN Plus, NC Central Coppin Hoops at 4, Army Loyola Hoops at 5. ACC Network, so television for Hopkins, Virginia lacrosse tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Morgan's at home tomorrow against South Carolina State at 4:30. UMBC Towson lacrosse tomorrow, good local rivalry game. That's at noon on Flow Sports. Everything else can go to Glenn Clark
Game's
Radio.
at Towson, right? At 12 noon?
Correct. Exactly right. Maryland Hoops Sunday at 2 hosts Indiana on CBS. The women play at Indiana at 3 on Peacock. Why would they do that? It's a conversation for another day. Maryland Lacrosse is on TV on Sunday at noon on ESPNU against Notre Dame. That's a big one. Notre Dame reeling a little bit after their loss to Georgetown, so that'll be a big showdown game there. Women's Gold Cup quarterfinals on Sunday. The U.S. tries to bounce back from their stunning loss to Mexico when they take on Colombia at 8:15 on Paramount Plus.
I love how you pronounce
Colombia.
That's Sunday
Colombia.
night?
That's Sunday night.
Okay.
Yep. It gives us something to watch on a Sunday night, which is nice because we haven't had a lot of that. And the Academy Awards are next week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Next week.
Non-sports this week.
Two more episodes of The Dynasty on Apple TV Plus. Napoleon also comes to streaming on Apple TV Plus.
Oh, I don't have Apple TV Plus right now.
No, you don't.
I only get it when like Ted Lasso comes back, and then I cancel it
and
again after
Knots.
that. Yeah, so.
Megamind is doing I don't know why it's out on Peacock. They're doing there's a show and a movie now for Megamind, but it's like none of the original cast, so it's kind of disappointing.
As everyone knows,
I would have been down. If
if we're gonna get Megamind, I am a snob. We need the high end.
No Will Ferrell, no Tina Fey. What are we doing?
Get on.
Spaceman out on Netflix. This is the Adam Sandler movie. I don't know if you saw any of this. Paul Dano plays a giant spider.
Okay, gonna be a no for me, dog.
And so he's on a solo mission on the ISS.
Yeah.
Why
we
he's
keep
getting
moving?
very, lonely, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if he's hallucinating it, but a giant spider. I don't think I can handle it because I don't.
It's
like
if AI wrote an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really thinking.
Yeah, by the way, we could say that about a lot of things. Go ahead.
No.
Stop.
Do we need to do this again?
No.
Sydney Sweeney's hosting SNL.
Oh, that's right.
With Casey Musgraves.
I wish I liked Casey Musgraves. Everybody convinced that she should be up my alley. I just don't. She just doesn't do anything for me.
Casey Musgraves.
Andrew Stecker gets personally offended whenever I talk
you don't
about
like
Casey
Casey
Musgraves.
Musgraves?
I'm like, I'm sorry, just doesn't do anything for me.
And then Curb on a Sunday night as well.
Very good.
Episode of it.
Very good. Stan, power rankings on Monday.
Power rankings on Monday. Ross, Luke, and I will chat in the 4 or 5 o'clock range, and then Eric and I will chat from Florida on Thursday.
And Stan's headed
and
down.
I'll be gone for 2 full weeks.
And we'll be checking in. We'll be working on that. But Stan will be making appearances with us from Sarasota. So we'll look forward to
plenty of little video content and some shorter written pieces as well.
Looking forward to it. At Stan the Fan on Twitter is how you follow him. Thanks today to the great Bobby Dandridge. Thanks also to Joe Serpico. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Jim Callis is going to join us on Monday.
That's the plan, yes, Jim Callis.
He saw the Paul Skeens Jackson Holiday matchup
We had a
yesterday.
chance to chat with Jackson Holiday as well.
How about that? So we'll talk to Jim Callis on Monday's show and Stuff and Things. Don't forget the Bat Around tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., same locations. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Roos Chris, Atman's Deli, Live Casino and Hotel, Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sins, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go all the local teams.
Go Towson basketball.
Sure, much needed. Duke sucks.